Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us again. Welcome back to our channel. This is the Love is Healing channel, and in this channel we aim to teach you, show you, embody that love is in fact healing, that when we love ourselves we can love others better, and we can integrate, we can have more empathy, we can have open conversations, especially with those that we disagree with the most. And yeah, we aim to have respectful dialogue and open-ended questions, and just, again, building that empathy and those connections with other people, especially those that believe differently from us. Also, we focus on psychoeducation and all things trauma, spirituality, honestly, just what comes up. All right, please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any comments on this video. Hello there. Thank you for joining us once again. I appreciate it. My name is Magnolia Heaton, if you don't know me, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker in 6 states now, which is really exciting, actually. I'm grateful for that opportunity. And the video I have in mind for today is going to be a little montage. So, I mean, it feels vulnerable to share. I guess I wasn't ready to share as much as I thought I was. But I grew up in a family system, and I grew up with a set of grandparents, a set of parents, and then a couple of siblings. And essentially I grew up with 6 people who were highly narcissistic. And of course that primed me to be in narcissistic relationships, romantic relationships, as I got older. And so I was with someone for a while. I don't know how much to share. I was with someone for quite a while. My longest relationship I've ever had. He was a moving target, so it's like I would be really excited to share successes, and then he would bring me down. He would minimize my successes. That's one thing. And then I'd be like, oh, this is really cool, right? And then, like, for example, like, oh, look at me, I'm so excited, I'm so strong. And he'd be like, you're not strong enough. This is what strong is. And again, have that moving target. So it was a hard relationship to be in. I left it, of course, as soon as I validated myself enough and had the strength to leave. But it was hard to be in that relationship. And this video is just for anybody who can relate. There's a chance that I might have this longer version with me having this preface, and then also a little short, and then maybe I'm just gonna have the whole video. But yeah, cheers to anybody who has ever survived being in a narcissistic relationship. Those are hard. I can say that it took me about 3 years to recover from it, I would say solidly. And that was me doing diligent work. I was in therapy. While there was a lot of conflict and emotional abuse and psychological abuse within the relationship, and then I was still with my therapist even after we got divorced. So yeah, took me 3 years more or less to recover. And here I am now, let's see, 5.5 years later, and I can say that I feel like I'm fully recovered. So it takes a while sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I was doing everything that I could. I sought all the social support that I could. I engaged in all the self-care that I could. I was in therapy, journaled, I did all the things. If you're in a narcissistic relationship, I highly suggest that you, or recommend, right, that you journal, because especially if there's gaslighting in the relationship, it can be really hard to remember what was said, or if you're crazy, or if you imagined it or not, or if you're exaggerating, or if you were in fact being overly emotional, or if it was true that these words were said, you know. And it wasn't that you were flooded by emotions. It's tricky. So if you are in a narcissistic relationship, I'm sorry. And I hope that you make it out alive and well. And please love yourself enough to deepen your trust within yourself. Thank you. And without further ado,
Go.
hi. It's taken me, I don't know how long to record this video or, get it all together. Anywhere from 3 to 6 months, closer to 6. But the making of this video is why I haven't made any others, because it's taken me a while to get this one together. And then I was gonna go recorded this whole thing, and turns out that I recorded it with the muted mic. So anyway, here we are. Yeah, it's been challenging. On one hand, I mean, like, I recorded it, compiled it because it's part of my empowerment and survival story and resiliency of, like, yeah, dude, I went through this. And also to, like, honor the truth that I went through this. Because it's easy to forget, and gaslight myself and different things like that. Sorry, and different things like that. And also to show you and normalize, like, hey, dude, narcissistic abuse happens and you can be resilient too. In retrospect, I mean, since I started this video, I want to say I probably started compiling it maybe in February or so on my computer, the actual videos, stitching them all together. Well, when it was challenging to compile it because it was a lot, and I did have to remember some trauma that I experienced that I processed through, I'm actively exposed to, try to compartmentalize, all the things. And also, I forget what I'm saying. I'm really distracted. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot has shifted, right? I've been going through this sex addiction therapy training, and I see in retrospect that I definitely, like, I kind of knew, but, like, I definitely had love addiction and codependency back then. And what I really want to highlight is that I was very much extrinsically motivated. My self-worth was extrinsic, X being external. So my self-worth was very much based on what he thought of me and what other people thought of me, right? Because I had a low sense of self-worth myself. And also just the way that I was raised, being Mexican, Catholic, all that. traditional. I gave my power away because I was taught to do that, right? And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with giving your power away. I do think it's not conducive when you give your power away to somebody who doesn't appreciate it, value it, give some back. You know, whenever things are one-sided at any point in time, that's not healthy, generally speaking. So I see that. I see a girl that was hurting. I see a girl that I'm extremely proud of, that I looked up to, that I was so grateful and proud to be. I did want to show you this other thing too. So I grew up being a really overweight kid, and one thing I could never do was pull-ups. For the life of me, I kept trying to upload this video and it wouldn't work for me, so I'm just going to put it here and show you. Oops. So I thought that was really cool. That was another one that I wanted to stitch in there but wasn't able to. Anyways. And, yeah. And then he talks smack about the pull-ups too, and why weren't they weight. Anyways, it was endless, as you can see. And so that's a red flag. If you ever, like, and he wasn't, I want to say he wasn't like that when I first met him, right? He was very into me, and what I have learned about narcissists is that they do seek out people who are powerful and confident and driven and accomplished and things like that. And then, I mean, I guess going along with the theme of like being a narcissistic supply, that's why they want and need a strong supply so that they can suck the life out of them. And I'll also say, even though I was a strong, sexy, in some ways confident, definitely affluent, the most that I'd ever been up until that point in time in my life, he very much was successful in breaking me down, and I really lost all sense of myself in some ways. Like, I just felt like so unimportant and so many things. It was just so much pain. And then, like, what really did it for me in terms of leaving the relationship was, like, I saw myself as somebody, I know that I'm sending mixed messages, and this has a lot to do with the trauma of that, but the parts of me that did have intrinsic self-worth were grateful for all my accomplishments, and that really, like, yeah, the accomplishments and successes, more than that I was living in alignment with my values, finally, for one of the first times in my life, right? And that was really cool, and that's why I was so excited and grateful, and that's why I shared with him. But then he would shoot it down. So give me a sec, let me plug it in because I'm getting distracted. It needs to be charged. Okay, so there's that. And he would keep shooting me down. And like, people at work, my coworkers, thank God for my coworkers, thank God for my supervisor at the time. Like, they really looked up to me. They were congratulating me, proud of me all the time. And I was the youngest, actually. And so, at my workplace at the time. And so it was very healing for me to have all those, like, older adults, or not even old, but just older, even if it was like a year older or whatever, be proud of me and different things like that and celebrate me. I didn't grow up with that. Then also, like, really, I grew up with a family of origin that was very much the way that he behaved, you know, and would say things and nitpick and criticize the way that he did. So that was my norm, but it didn't feel right ever to me. So I was grateful to have that in my coworkers and my clients too. They were kind and all these things, but then I'd go home and there was this guy that was like so rude and so hateful and like would tear me down, and I was like, that's not cool. Isn't that weird? Isn't this narcissistic abuse? I don't know. Is he a narcissist? I don't know. I'm confused. And the point is not the label. The point is the behaviors, and they were not conducive to my mental health, right? And I didn't want to perpetuate that as a legacy in my bloodline. So that's why I ended the relationship. And it did help me to, as I mentioned earlier in the video, journal things down, keep myself grounded and things like that. I was seeing a therapist at the time. I wouldn't say that she was the best. She also would ask me, like, when I'd say, he emotionally abuses me, she'd be like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, I can't tell you. I'm completely emotionally flooded. I have no idea. I have no idea what he's saying. I just know that I lost all sense of myself. Well, why did you lose all sense of yourself? I'm like, girl, I don't know. Help me figure it out, you know? And EMDR did help me with that a bit. With like some wounds and stuff that helped me kind of like up level my life. If you address the frequencies and the traumas that are there at the core, then it'll help shift your vibration, which in turn shifts your reality, right? Physically. So that was helpful. It was a lot. It was intense, and I'm working through it. And I know I said what I said earlier, but it took 3.5 years. But I think like now, so it's been 7 years. 7 years and 2 weeks or so. And now I can actually say that I have healed from that. Like, I've spent the past 5 months maybe in therapy doing a lot of EMDR. I've also done a lot of NET, neuroemotional technique, right? I've done a lot of that too, actually. Yeah, it's not much, but NET seminar. Yeah, it's pretty great. Anyways, that's also a somatic intervention of some kind. So I've actively, diligently worked on that, having like 2 to 3 sessions a week overall. And it's been really helpful to clear it out of me. And I feel like I'm in a grounded place. And there's been so much grief. And it's so deep. It's so inherent. And I just told you I grew up Catholic, I think. Well, I grew up Catholic and Mexican. And so it was very hard to get divorced. I didn't want to. I gave up my everything. And I expected to remain married for the rest of my life. I didn't get married with the idea of getting divorced. I kind of didn't believe in divorce. I know I'm trailing off, but this is coming out. Maybe this was the reason why I re-recorded the video, because this is slightly longer than the first one. And so I didn't believe in divorce. Also, he wasn't willing to work on himself and just adamantly denied it. Like, I don't have a problem. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not addicted to video games. I'm not addicted to pornography. Okay. But he, the signs would show otherwise. And it was just hard. I'm not addicted to rage, It's a lot. And then that's gaslighting and that's denial. And as time goes on, I'm going to make more videos, God willing, about the addiction world and what I've learned in CSAT and things like that. And I'm excited to teach you what I've learned. And trust your gut, If I had a recommendation for what to work on in therapy, it'd be to help you get in touch with your body. So you can get in touch with your body's internal cues and your intuition, and to learn to distinguish between fear and intuition, because they're different. Fear is very much kind of panicky, and then intuition is more soft and it's deeper. For me and my body, I feel like kind of closer to my heart, maybe sternum, sometimes stomach, but it's not up here, like in my extremities and my skin, like fear. Again, journaling, very helpful for you to figure out what your triggers are. What is upsetting? Why do I feel gaslit? Am I being gaslit? What happened? What did you say? What did they say? Decisions, And it's not like a one-time journal entry is going to fix it, but I'm saying like over time, you're going to start to see patterns in yourself. Hopefully, it'll connect your thoughts with your emotions, and it'll help you be able to figure out what matters to you. Your values and things like that, your triggers, gaslighting. Just what happened, yeah, like direct quotes can help too. Stuff like that, situations. Maybe especially ones that you think are really messed up. And then you can write them down and be like, here's what happened, and then you can look back and be like, wow, I wasn't tripping. Like, that really was messed up. So any of those things can help. All of those things can help. And definitely have a safety plan. I had people that I talked to about it, like TMI, trigger warning. If DV is a thing for you, I would stop watching now. But I'll try not to get too graphic. Like, I was afraid that I was going to be physically abused. It didn't get to that point, but I was very afraid that I would. And I talked to some people. I talked to 1 or 2 people at work about it. And they're like, here's where I live. And if you ever need me to go in the middle of the night, if you ever need to come in the middle of the night, come. Yeah, my number, you know where I live. Okay. And then I talked to somebody else too who said the same thing. And I'm grateful, you know, that I had those options. And it was hard and it would have been humiliating. And I would have felt a lot of shame had I had to undergo that. Especially because I grew up seeing it with one of my siblings. And it's not cool, you know? Yeah, it's just, I mean, I did have a lot of shame, and maybe that's the next thing that I'll work through is the shame that I was even in that relationship and the low self-worth and stuff. At the same time, and here's the dialectic, like, I do have gratitude. And I mean, honestly, in a lot of ways, spiritually speaking, I do have a lot of gratitude that I went through that experience, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have really been able to see the richness, the depth of the familial trauma that I went through with my family of origin, and to like figure out what decisions I would actually make in the moment. You know, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll say, like, infidelity was a big thing in my family, where, if I'm honest, I now suspect that there's sex addiction. There was a sex addiction in my family, right? My grandparents' generation, definitely. Actually, yeah. So definitely my great grandparents and my grandparents and even my parents. So all kinds. If not all of them, definitely most of them. And sex addictions like sexual anorexia and sexual binging too. It's a continuum. Anyways, so that happened. The energetic patterns were there. The behavioral patterns were there too. So I never wanted to be like unfaithful. And then like, as we were going through this strife and I was wanting to get divorced and in the middle of filing and paying off debt before we got divorced, like I had the opportunities to be unfaithful literally in front of my face, literally like ideal situations that I would have wanted in my life and stuff. And like, I didn't do it because that's who I was. And that's who I said I was going to be. And then I was able to be true to that. This isn't a judgment if this isn't you. It's just cool. Like I can say that I accomplished that, you know? So I'm grateful for that strength. And I wouldn't have learned that otherwise. It would have just been stipulation, really. And then to say that I'm strong enough to walk away, that was something else that I wanted to prove to myself. So that's cool. To say that I was going to change my family's legacy, check that box too. And it's hard. Like, it's not easy. But it really did come down to like a cost-benefit analysis. I was like, girl, look, like, if you stay in this relationship for another year, 5, 10 years, what's going to happen to you? You're going to become super overweight and unhealthy. Like, you have already felt suicidal. I mean, come on. It's only going to get worse, you know? High blood pressure and stuff like that from, like, heart problems, like, from all the anger. Like, no, bro, not cool. So I wasn't willing to put up with the cost of staying in the relationship on top of the abuse and losing myself. I was like, nah. There's a saying in Spanish, mejor sola que mal acompañada. And it's like, yeah, the thing was, like, I'd prefer to be alone, but at least I'll have peace rather than like to be with someone and have all this drama, you know, kind of thing. So I think that's all for now, but like, I'm grateful for this video. Thank you for watching. If you did, power to you. I know that as you make decisions for yourself, to choose justice and things like that, like, to speak up for yourself, you're going to make that change. You're going to have trickle effects in your life. You're going to attract more people like that. It's going to gain traction. And like, that's how we heal. The more you love yourself, you can love other people. They can love other people and love you more, and y'all love each other more. You know, like, it's a trickle effect. It's a snowball effect. And I think those are the biggest things. And just to the people who are like, wow, you're so strong. I'm like, thanks. I really earned it. And I white knuckled it. And I just didn't give up is what it is. And that's what I've learned. And you start to see that over social media these days too. It's like the ones who don't give up are the ones who succeed. So I didn't give up on my sense of justice, my sense of God's love, really, and Christ's example, right? Of integrity and authenticity and things like that. And I do my best to embody that, to include like standing up for myself, and then eventually learning to stand up for other people, even to abusers and things. waiting a little bit because it feels like there's more, but I think that's it. Anyways, closing this chapter though, on this book and this resentment. Gonna go work on shame. Once I feel like I've worked through that enough, I will get back to you hopefully and hit you back with a response on that. So anyhow, yeah, much love and respect to you all, and thank you for watching. As always, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Please give us a like, share, subscribe. And you can find us at loveishealingllc.com for any bookings, trainings, collaborations, things like that. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and our handle is at loveishealingllc. Take care, everyone.